Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today in this new GeneXus webinar called GeneXus 16 New Features, How to Use the New Import from Sketch functionality. Today we have people from all over the world. We have people from Japan, Indonesia, UK, South Africa, Finland, Portugal, Saudi Arabia, over 22 countries joining us today. GeneXus webinars have been seen by over 7,000 people so far in more than 30 countries, so we are very happy with your support. Sketch is one of the most popular tools for designing digital interfaces, and today Gonzalo and Mauro will show you how to integrate Sketch files automatically into GeneXus. Gonzalo Echaue is a solution specialist at GeneXus since 1992. He has been working with GeneXus developing web and mobile applications. And Mauro Canziani is a UX designer and developer with almost 20 years of experience developing interactive applications, web, mobile, augmented reality, and wearables. He currently leads the design team at GeneXus. At this time, I now present to you Gonzalo and Mauro.
Hi guys, nice to be in touch with you.
Hi everyone.
Okay, we will start the presentation. I will turn off my camera and we'll start the presentation showing you and how to import from Sketch into GeneXus, and we will do a small presentation and then we will do a demo in order to show you how it works, this new functionality. The first question maybe is why we selected Sketch as an integration tool to use into GeneXus. Well, this is because Sketch is one of the most used UI tools for designers. We have over 1 million designers that are using it, and some of the most important customers all over the world, like Apple, Google, Facebook, Nintendo. So a lot of important companies using the Sketch. In this graphic, you can see how are the most used design tools. Like Sketch is by far the most common used tool, followed by Figma and from Adobe XD. One of the important points about the Sketch and Figma also is that they are an open format. So it means that we can read from GeneXus in a kind of JSON or something like this, the definition of the project. And because it's an open format, we can work with this format and to import into GeneXus. This feature is available for mobile since the GeneXus 16 U5, and we also have a beta version for web in the trunk version of GeneXus. So if you download the trunk version of GeneXus and you are in the beta program, you can test the web functionality that is not yet released. Let's see how the integration with GeneXus works. And when the way to trigger the import from a Sketch is in the GeneXus IDE, to select the tools from the menu, go to the application integration, and then with the black arrow that you have there, you have the Sketch import that is going to read the Sketch project. And since this definition import into GeneXus and define some objects into GeneXus, that we will see which one. And then we need to another steps is that we need to import the fonts and to import the images that were exported from the Sketch. And the objects that are created when we execute the import are going to be panels, okay? Those panels are going to be web panels and also mobile panels, SD panels. We will have a code also in the panels that will show us that will allow us to navigate between the panels that are imported. We will have several panels that are linked into the GeneXus, into the Sketch project. We will add the necessary code into the defined panels inside GeneXus for this navigation also. We are defining also stencils That is the common definition of an object as a UX object that is reused, okay, for several objects inside the KB or inside the project. And we are also defining, you have the possibility to define a new theme when you are importing from GeneXus, or add the classes into a predefined theme like the Carmine or some the theme of GeneXus. And also, and images are also going to be imported into the KB as images that are going to be available to see into the image browser inside GeneXus. The fonts also are going to be defined. For the fonts that are used in the sketch process, after you export them, you will import into GeneXus, and the fonts are going to be available. And also, GeneXus will define data providers in order to load the test data of the panels. That will allow us not only define the panels, but also when we run the application, we will see test data that is going to be available to modify if you want. That we will do also during the demo. We will modify this static data to dynamic data to show you how it can be done this easily using GeneXus. Today, we are going to import this project that is in Sketch, that they have these 5 panels that you can see on the screen with this navigation. In this project, you will see that there are the panels and also the images, the fonts. They have the data in this grid. In the second panel, for example, there are the test data that you can see that the pizza, the sweet bakery, and also for the next panels. And there are going to be some action, for example, the add to cart or the can trash that you can see in the last panel, or the checkout of the order. Then we will see that GeneXus will do some definition for these buttons or events that are in the project. So saying that, I will go to the demo. I don't know, Mauro, if you want to comment something until now.
No, it's okay.
Okay, and so now we are going to do the demo using GeneXus. Okay, so I will go to my GeneXus here. Can you confirm that you can see the GeneXus IDE on the screen, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, I already created a KB, but I assume that everybody knows here what is a KB in GeneXus and how to create it. The KB name is this one, is Sketch English. The version of GeneXus that I am using is the last one that was released, is the U10 of GeneXus. And let's go into do the import. So after I create the KB from scratch, so there are no more options than the one that are predefined by GeneXus, I go to the Tools menu and selecting the application integration as we saw in the slides, we will select the Sketch import. Sketch import will prompt a dialog to select which is the Sketch project that I want to import. In this case, I have, for example, one from cinema and another one for food trucks. Okay, and we will select this one, the food truck. This is the sketch file that Mauro provided to us, okay, to do this demo. Just selecting from here, and I will create a theme that the food truck sees, and I will also create a menu. Okay, I will ask GeneXus to create a menu after it import the panels. It will create a menu, will be defined as a main program, and we will run the application from it. So we say, okay, here you can see in the output that is processing the sketch file, importing the images and all the resources from Sketch project. And if everything goes smoothly, we should have no errors, no warning message as it happened. Okay, so you can see that the build was succeeded from the import. Okay, and just in the part of the import that we import from the project, GeneXus created a menu. You see the food truck menu. It's just a menu calling the panels that were created from the import. Okay, while we see that this is the main option that we run, okay, for the test, and then it created each one panel for each part of the project of the panel that are in the sketch project. It also created stencils, that is the UX component that are reused into the KB, that were created from the sketch project definition. You can see there is a bar here, the reuse, the grids, okay, this product, for example, okay, this component is used, okay, in several parts of the panels, and also created the test data. And here you will see that GeneXus create an SDT, okay, that are going to be the output of the data providers, and it create the data provider for each panels with static data. But for example, here for the product grid, okay, it create one product or one record of the grid, okay. And as you can see, everything is static here. This is an image into the KB, and all the labels are static. Okay, they are not reading from any dynamic source. Okay, now we need to continue with the import, and we will import the fonts first. Okay, and instead of add this font to the Carmine theme, I will add it to the food truck theme. The fonts were selected from the sketch here. Okay, where are the fonts? Okay. Sorry. And if I press OK here, it will start the import of the fonts. So no errors, no warning. We will go now to the third step, that we need to import the images. Mauro, these images are the ones that are exported from Sketch, right?
Yes. So there are two kind of images in the project. Dynamic image, like the one that were imported in the KB. Those are images that are going to be dynamic in the project. So in runtime, our images that are going to be loaded from the database. And those that Gonzalo is importing now are static images, like icons and backgrounds that are static. So that's why you have two kind of images, and you have to import the last one, those ones, because you need to have all the different densities for different screens, size, and resolutions.
Thank you, Mauro. So now GeneXus import the images that Mauro explained. And after we have these three steps completed, it's supposed that we have all the sketch project created by the design team imported into GeneXus. GeneXus already created the panels and all the components needed in order to run the application. Okay. So
Gonzalo, it seems that you selected the Carmine theme right now for the images.
Yes.
Someone says that in the chat. Sorry.
But the images, they have no.
Oh, okay, so someone is saying that you selected. Perfect. Maybe for the fonts. For the fonts.
For the fonts, here there's only the one that we have the.
Right.
But this is we can check this. Okay.
Yep.
We have here the file. The fonts should be imported here that are there. Okay. And well, from now, we suppose that we be able to run the application, okay, with just this definition done by GeneXus imported from Sketch. So I will go to Preference, and this time I will select the smart devices. I am using a MacBook Pro here, so I will generate iOS. I will generate Swift for this. And I will change some preference here. I will put here my IP. And also I will select here simulator on the Mac. This is my IP, that's are my credentials. And if everything is okay, we select here the emulator. So I'm using the last version of Xcode, so I will select this one. And I suppose that everything should be ready here. That will allow me to run the application. I will select now the main object, the food rack, and just with the run, GeneXus should do all the work. It should generate the server side, should generate the client side, compile the application, everything. Oh, let me go here and see if I am. Yes. I just need to check that the virtual machine and the Mac are linked. So as you know, GeneXus is generating now the programs. So this is the part that GeneXus works by itself. And let's see if GeneXus can communicate with the Mac, transfer the Xcode project, compile, and then run the emulator. So let's try to connecting to my Mac. Then it's copying the libraries, start the Xcode project. And after this, it will start the compilation of the iOS application. And also should upload the emulator. And then it's trying to execute now the application. All the emulator is uploading, starting. And now it should open the application. There is. Okay, and now we have the application imported from the Sketch project, defined into GeneXus, generated, and let's see the panels that were created. The first panel that you see is the first panel that appeared into the project. Okay, that there was those 5 panels. Maybe the application is not pixel perfect, but it's a very good tool in order to initialize the project that you are working on with the design that the design team gave to you. And after this, we can start modifying this object inside GeneXus to do it pixel perfect. But it's almost very near to the definition that were defined into the Sketch project. For example, you can see that we have also remember when we talk about the test data, okay, here these rows that are on the grid, for example, that the one that says stripped chocolate is the one that you can see here in the data provider in GeneXus, okay? And then now after some moment we change it to do it dynamically. Let's come back to the emulator here. For example, for the navigation, you can see that if I click on one row on the grid, you go to the next screen, I can add here, okay, some, for example, options also like the check, okay, and if I go to the checkout here, or if I want to delete this, it has some action already defined. Of course, that these actions are just a sample. And, okay, you can go to GeneXus. If we activate the live editing mode, you can change the action online, and you will see the changes that already happened here. Okay. And okay, so all the panels were defined, okay, with the images and also with the test data that was included into the project. They are using the fonts that were imported and the images. And what we would like to show you is how we can change this how we can change from the static data that we have in these data providers to some dynamic data. Okay. In order to do this, I will use the database reverse engineering tool, and I will connect to a table that I already have defined in my SQL server, and we will change, okay, this in order to show you how easy it is to change this definition for the data providers. Okay. Mauro, some comments, or I just go to this?
No, just go ahead.
Okay. So I go to the database reverse engineering tool. Probably everybody knows about this. This is just a tool that allows us to connect to external databases. Okay. And here I will select a database that I already have. Oh, sorry. This one here. I will connect to one that is Cinema Demo. Something not good with my keyboard. And I have in this database one table that is the product table. I will select this one in order to be imported here into this KB. I could like to change some setting here. Okay, so I will define the data store. I will call it Cinema data store. And I will put this into the Cinema products. This folder, okay. And I also could add to data rule here just to change the name, okay. And here, what is called product, I will call Cinema product. I will add the rule name. And I will apply here. I will go to the report and it say that it will create the Cinema product data view in the GeneXus. Okay, so finish. And now you can see that we have this Cinema product folder that it have the Cinema data view that is connected or is linked to this data store, and needs to have this Cinema product associated table. And this is, of course, the transaction that was created by GeneXus. And so now I will go to this data provider, and instead of use this static definition, I will change it in order to get the data from the table. Okay, so I just remove all the occurrences of this, and here, when I mention the static data, the image, okay, I will put, for example, the product image. Okay, instead to have this label, I will put the product name. These are the attributes that were defined in the data viewer in the transaction. And here I will put the product, let me see description. For the price, I will use the price, but probably I need to change to string, because I see that this is a string and this attribute is probably a numeric. This is numeric, so I just change it into string, and that's all. We're changing this data provider that is for the products. Okay, it should not show us anymore the products that are here. No, there's here, and we show you the products that are in this external database. Okay, if I come here now in a run application, it will ask me to connect to a database. Okay, I will select here, even if I have okay, finish. It will not create the database because it already exists. Okay, say it's not going to be recognized. So I can continue, and let's see what is doing GeneXus now. As you know, GeneXus will recently do the refactoring of all the necessary programs in order to access this database instead of the static data. Generate, compile, and let's see if the application change the way that is showing the products. So very fast. I'm not sure if it works. If I go to the product here, this one, you see that it's not showing anymore the default products, okay? But now it's showing the data that were in the database. For example, I have a Mati here, or share by all of those things. Okay, this is a very easy way to change from static data to dynamic data, and it allows you to very fast prototyping. And also, when you are working with a legacy system, you can integrate this very easily. This is not related specifically with a sketch, but is just to show you how the data providers that provides the data for the panels can be easily changed, okay, from static to dynamic data. So now I will come back to the presentation. And we will continue now from Mauro, okay, that will give us some tips for designers and also some features that we have been working in order to do the design ops integration. Mauro?
Great. Yeah.
I will stop sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, so are you seeing my screen right now?
Seeing the sketch on the screen.
Well, I hope so, yeah.
Yes, Mauro, we can see you.
Yes, okay, perfect. So this is the sketch file that Gonzalo just imported in GeneXus. So I would like to share with you some recommendations and some conventions and best practices for when you are designing a sketch with GeneXus in mind. So first of all, I would like to share some general recommendations. The first one is that it's important that you try to keep your design or your file simple. By this, I mean that not just the design simple, but try to keep the structure of the design as simple as possible. For example, here the file structure, the layer's name, try to keep it tidy and with nice and order. For that, try to keep order in the way that appear in the screen. For example, here you have the header with the logo, and here we have this part of the screen just ordered as it appeared. Right here you have the title for this second. Let's see, this one, for example, this one. This is at the top because it has to be over that part. Then you have the title, this part, a button, and the header behind all this. So GeneXus import all these artboards as panels in GeneXus. So you are going to have, as you saw with Gonzalo, 5 panels, because here we have 5 artboards in Sketch. This part, for example, this part here, that is the navigation bar in iOS, we tried in GeneXus to ignore automatically those things, but you can also ignore part of your design, but adding this underscore in front of the name. So, for example, this is going to be ignored in GeneXus, and this one, the home indicator too. And then try to keep, as we are going to see, we see, trying to keep the elements in the same folder, elements that are part of the same part of the screen. For example, here is better that you make a folder for this with everything that is part of something inside of another folder. For example, here, try to keep this in a folder, like everything. Then another folder for that part. Another folder for that part. Here, for example, have another folder for that part. So the idea is that you can structure the information. You must imagine this as a table, that this is the whole table. Then you have like here a part and here another part. And this part has 2 parts, this part and this part. And then this part have 3 elements like this, this, and this. This is the best way that to GeneXus to avoid errors when you import complex layouts like this one. And then try to keep the background at the end, at the bottom of the folder. For example, here, this is the background here. The last element is the background image or the background. Another important thing is names. As you see, for example, here's a capture that I just made from Gonzalo. The name here is pretty well, like this is the price, okay, it's the price. Here's the product description, and okay, it's the product description, product name. But look what happened here. We have this name that the Paletas Factory Maracuyá, that for the developer doesn't make any sense. So if you see here, this is the mistake that we did here, for example. This is a sum symbol. So I name this correctly price. I name this correctly product description and product name. But this is not a happy name for the images. So try to keep this like maybe like product image, just to make your developer life a little more easy. Remember that he or she is going to work with the data for a long time. So try to name the layers of elements with meaningful names. Also, when you are doing groups, those are going to be sometimes tables, sometimes grids in GeneXus. So try to be a little more meaningful. Maybe you can put here like product data or something, like make a little more sense, just to avoid these kind of things. So here the developer must figure it out, what is the Paleta Factory Maracuyá element here. Here layout 2, let's see, what is this? Oh, here inside this bill, maybe, well, I don't know what products that product came from. Maybe Gonzalo is using an older file. So the recommendation is try to keep your names here in your layers as descriptive as possible. Remember that in GeneXus, in Sketch, by default, if you create a layer here, it's going to have the content name. So its recommendation is that you go and then change it for something more meaningful. Okay. Another recommendation is to, when you are structuring your files, try to avoid overlapping things that doesn't overlap in the reality. For example, here, especially when you are working with text, try to avoid these kind of things. That you overlap two texts like this one and this one. Maybe visually are not overlapping, but the boxes are overlapping. So try to, that those things doesn't happen. So avoid overlapping elements if not necessary. So pay attention for the text frames. Also for frames, for text, is really important that you use the frame to give space to grow horizontally and define those margins right here. So avoid doing this. Try to make the frame as big as possible and define the right margin or the left margin. Then for images, there are, as we were saying earlier, there are two kinds of images. Images that are going to be dynamically in runtime, for example, this one here. And there are some images that are going to be static in the design, in the project, like this icon, for example, here, or this heart here. So for the static one, you must export it here in Sketch. You have to make it exportable here. And you have to select all Android sizes. So make all your images that are going to be static exportable right here, and make it by default exported that with the preset for Android. And for dynamic images, for example, this one here, this image is going to be imported in the KB dynamically, and then is what Gonzalo did, that is going to be dynamized with the database data. But these images and the text are going to be sample data, so try to be relevant with the information. Another recommendation for images is that try to avoid using masks. For example, if you're going to use this image here in the header, here, for example, use the image without masks. Here I have one with a mask. Try to avoid that, because we have problems in GeneXus trying to understand the mask and the size. So, for example, here you could export the image and then try to import again without the mask. So when you have all your images marked as exportable, you have to go here and export all the images for the project, and then send it to the developer to have the images. Also for the fonts, the developer is going to need all the fonts used in the project. But right now we don't have a a way to export from Sketch all the fonts. So you have to collect them manually and send it to the developer. From the developer perspective, it's really easy to import all the fonts into the theme. The developer can do that with a couple of clicks. When we import the project in GeneXus, we respect all the navigation here. So for make quick prototypes in the real device, it's really easy. You can make your project, select here, for example, here, the target, and those interactivity is going to be honored in GeneXus. Then a really important thing in Sketch are symbols. Those are like stencils in GeneXus, are reusable elements that you can define once, like this one, and then you can instantiate it in your project and override all the data. For example, this one here is one symbol. This one is the same symbol, but I changed the data. For example, here I can put like all that data is going to be imported in GeneXus as sample data. So try to use like real data so your project looks nice in GeneXus. We honor all the overrides, the image overrides, the text overrides. We don't support right now styles override, but we are working on that. Those elements are going to be imported as stencils in GeneXus. Then we have a few conventions to tell GeneXus that, for example, this element here, that it's a button. Tell GeneXus that this element it is a button. For that, we have to add the word button to the layer name. We also have like an input text also. You have to add the word input here. And a few other more that you can check the documentation, like grid, for example. We can define a grid. This here, it is a grid. So to define a grid, we have to use a symbol as we see here. We have to put all the symbols inside a folder and then name the folder as grid. So GeneXus is going to create a grid here and use all the data from the symbols to populate that grid. We are adding new conventions for other controls soon. And finally, recommendation for responsiveness. As you know, phones have different screen size and resolutions, so we have to give GeneXus information in order to keep your design responsive. I should make here a screen that isn't responsive right now. For example, if I use, imagine I'm using this in a tablet, for example, it's going to look like this. So let's try to make it a little more responsive. For that, we have in Sketch constraints that appear here. For example, I would like those text to keep the margins right here the same. So I apply those constraints to keep those margins fixed. So now this is going to happen, right? For this icon, I would like to keep the size fixed and also align to the left side of the screen. So we're going to perform like this. For the button, I would like to keep those margins fixed. And for this card also, I would like to keep the margins fixed to 18 pixels. So I fix it both sides. The image, I would like to keep it the proportions and the size, and keep it fixed to this side of the screen. Also this. And the pills, I would like to keep it fixed to the right, sorry. So if you apply the current constraints, this design is going to be perfect in all sizes and resolutions. For more information about Sketch resize constraints, best practices, you can go to Sketch documentation. I can put it here in the chat, the documentation page for that. So we are working hard in GeneXus to honor all the definitions about resize and constraints supported in Sketch. We are working right now in that feature, so you can give it a try in the beta version of GeneXus. So now I would like to show you a little bit about a plugin that we are developing running in GeneXus. The idea of the plugin is that you can send all the sketch and the images to your developer, so you don't have to export the images. The plugin is going to make everything automatically for you. But this is something that is going to be soon available for all of you to try. Okay, if you want more information about how to import a sketch file in GeneXus, you can see the post in our wiki page. There also you can download some sketch file examples like this one that follow all these recommendations and conventions. I can put the file for the wiki here in the chat. Great, so let's go back with the presentation. Are you seeing the presentation right now? Yeah.
The presentation is on the screen, Mauro.
Okay, next steps. We're going to, once we have the import from Sketch finished, we are going to go with Adobe XD. And as I was telling you, we're working on a Sketch plugin.
I could like to point out that this Sketch plugin will allow the designer to not only upload the sketch to this queue and process it, he can also check with the KB navigator the result of the sketch. This is very good because he can see, or he can do an interaction in the design ops until the design is pixel perfect, to say something, and then the developer can continue working.
Yes, it's a really easy way to accelerate the process. Also, there is a talk in our annual conference about this. For more information, you can find it as design op from GeneXus, or desde GeneXus in Spanish. And you can also get more information in the wiki. Great, so let's move to the Q&A section, right?
And Gonzalo, for this, let's see if we have questions already. And we have one from Alan. And thank you, Alan, first of all, for your question. Thanks for being here today. And he's asking, any recommendations for the Sketch version? Does it work with Sketch version 67.2?
Let me check the last one. I don't know. I assume that that's the last one version of Sketch, and sometimes Sketch breaks the structure of the JSON, and we have some problems with that. So we didn't try it. Maybe there is some problems right there. We have to try that new version.
Okay, good. We have another one. This is from Carlos Alejandro. Carlos Alejandro, thank you very much for being here and posting your question. Mauro, Gonzalo, what is the best way or recommendations to use shapes for backgrounds?
By shapes, I mean, I think he means just a plain background. I didn't understand. I don't understand the question.
Maybe Carlos, you can add a bit more in the chat.
Yeah, maybe if you want to use like a collection of shapes, like a drawing, you have to export it as an image. We don't support vectorial drawings in GeneXus right now. So if you want to use like a drawing, export it as an image with all the resolutions, so it's going to look perfect, and there is no problem with that. But we don't support vectors right now.
Okay. Carlos, if you want to add anything else afterwards, please do so, and we can add it to this question. Let's move to the next one from Marcos. Marcos, thanks for your question. This is related to the roadmap. When GeneXus will understand Figma or Lunacy.sketch files?
Yeah, okay. Our roadmap is going to go with Adobe XD next, but we know that Figma is gaining traction right now. So maybe if it is possible, because we don't know yet, we saw the API from Figma, but maybe we can go with Figma first, but we don't know right now. And okay. Lunacy is like a free alternative for PC for Sketch, but it's not in our roadmap right now.
Good. Thanks for that, Mauro. Let's go to the next one. This one is from Gaston. Gaston, thanks very much for joining us and for your question. When will it be functional for web?
Okay. Sorry, Mauro. In the beta version, you have the function of importing for Sketch and generating the web panels also available. We are in the test phase now, and as soon as we have a stable version of it, we will move to the stable version of GeneXus, and we hope so that it can be done before the release of GeneXus 16 or as soon as possible. But as I told you, we are in the test phase now of this functionality.
Great. Thanks, Gonzalo. Any other questions? If not, we're close now to the hour. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Gonzalo and thank Mauro. Wait, we have another one. Last minute, I'm going to post it now. So we have one from Carlos again, and the guide of the wiki site is basic. Are there another guide or for using advanced designs for smart devices?
Yeah, we are working on that right now.
Good. So
Carlos, we're going to have a expanded support page for that.
But if you have any question, you can be in touch with us, and we will help you with the problem or with your questions.
Yes.
Right. Great. Remember there was a slide with the email addresses, so you can contact us, and the design team will respond. And thanks, Alan, for your comment on the chat. And I think there are no more questions. Thanks, Mauro. Thanks, Gonzalo. It's been a pleasure again. Thanks for showing us the integration between Sketch and GeneXus 16. There you have the slide with the contacts of the presenters. And thanks to everyone for your participation. Remember, this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel and also on our new webinar site. And also remember to look at that site frequently and review the ones you have missed, and please register for the upcoming ones. All content, is free and 100% online. You have the link there on the chat, so you can go right away and register for the upcoming ones. We hope to see you again next time. Please be safe. Thank you, Gonzalo. Thank you, Mauro.
Thank you.